And first, today was the deadline the Trump administration gave Maine to conform to its interpretation of Title IX.
That is the federal law enacted more than 5 decades ago to give women and girls equal access and opportunity when it comes to school-sponsored activities, mainly sports.
Maine's Department of Education, the Maine Principals Association, and Greeley High School all had until today to sign an agreement that they will no longer allow transgender students to play sports in the gender with which they identify, something that's allowed under Maine law.
So what did those 3 entities decide to do? Here's News Center Maine's Pearl Small.
Greeley High School and the Maine Principals Association will not be signing a voluntary resolution agreement that was sent to them by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The agreement would require the Maine Principals Association to reverse its policy that has allowed transgender female athletes to compete in sports against biological females. Through an investigation with the Office for Civil Rights, U.S. DHHS representatives say they've ruled that policy violates Title IX. Title IX reads, "No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance." But while Title IX doesn't specifically mention how it applies to athletes, the MPA says the Maine Human Rights Act specifically protects athletes' ability to participate on teams that align with their gender identity. "We are unable to sign any resolution agreement that would mandate we create a new policy that would violate the law and Maine Human Rights Act," a spokesperson said Thursday. The superintendent for MSAD 51, which oversees Greeley High School, also says they won't be signing because, quote, "it would be a violation of current Maine law." The agreement also lists special instructions for the Maine Department of Education that if the MPA does not comply, the Maine DOE is required to prohibit public schools from participating in events organized and administered by the MPA. Maine DOE officials won't yet say whether they will sign the federal agreement, instead referring us to Maine Attorney General Aaron Fry, who would represent the department in the matter. Attorney General Fry had no new updates for us, but at a town hall with Congresswoman Shelley Pingree this week, he publicly criticized how the Trump administration has handled the situation.
They blew through any process that they were supposed to follow under the law, and now we're at this point where there's this deadline that they've put on the state to make some decision. It seems as though the process here, it's hard not to see it as something that's been motivated by this desire to effectuate revenge.
U.S. DHHS representatives said previously if the parties do not sign the agreement, they will likely seek action with the Department of Justice, which means the issue could be settled in court. In Portland, Pearl Small, News Center, Maine.